Hi and welcome. I'm the MaroonWarlock. This is MaroonWarlock Gaming, and this is the latest episode of the Warlock's Brew. Surprisingly, especially for me, we're back in Standard, since I usually play Modern or Legacy. We are following the hype train of the massive set of bans, attuned with the Aether, Rogue Refiner, Ferocidon, whatever the crap his name is, and Ramunap Ruins are all banned from Standard. But Rivals of Ixalan, as you can tell, is on MTGO, so we started brewing a bit. And this is what I came up with in my first major attempts. I actually got inspired for this deck after playing in the pre-release. I've had some tests with this in some for funds matches, and it's worked pretty well. We're playing a red-black pirate aggro deck, very low to the ground. As you can see, our curve tops out at 4, and it's for a 2 of, but for the most part, everything is a 2 or a 1, as we can see here. So yeah, we're going to actually, in this case, we're going to bring it into a competitive league, because I want to see how it shapes up, and I'm also trying to help a friend of mine who's going to be on my team for the Open prep for Standard, so I want to see how the meta is shaping up. In play tests for funsies, I've seen a few Merfolk decks, I've seen a few red-white aggro decks using that red-white enchantment that flips. I can't, metal of something or something of metal or something metal. Metal being M-E-T-T-L-E. And that card is legit. I honestly almost wanted to try building that guy's deck here, but I didn't have the full list, and it was pretty dope. But I've seen all sorts of decks. I've seen a few of the like assembly line module decks, though I don't know how efficient those are at actually winning. Because they combo off cool, but this deck's hoping to win before that. So without further ado, let's go over the list. Let me get out the preview pane because my mouse has been acting all fluky dooky, and that way it'll be easier for people to see the cards. So we'll start with our creatures in the 1 slot. We got a play set of most of our creatures in this deck, save for 2 in the entire list. We'll start with a Grasping Scoundrel. It gets +1/+0 as long as it's attacking. That is not an activated or triggered ability. It just happens when it's attacking. Something that you may or may not know about me with cards like this, anytime I can get 2 power attacking on a body for 1 mana, I'm usually pretty all in on it. Like, I played with this card in the pre-release, given that's a limited environment. It was doing work. It was able to apply very early pressure, trigger some early raids, and let you maneuver from there. And also, anytime you can trade 1-for-1 off of a Grasping Scoundrel, you're probably doing okay, to be honest. Next, we have the pirate version of Goblin Guide and Silvergill combined into 1 card. Our Daring Buccaneer. He is a 2/2. I think it's a he. I don't know. As an additional cost to cast Daring Buccaneer, reveal a pirate from your hand or pay 2. You are never paying 2. If you're paying 2, you top decked him and you were in desperation mode anyway. Because you're just trying to get some gas in. So your turn 1s in most cases are either you're playing Daring Buccaneer or you're playing a Grasping Scoundrel. If these aren't in your opening hand, there's actually some merit to pitch it, unless you have like a Fatal Push, which we do run 2 on the board. Or 2 in the main, 2 on the side, but we'll get to that. Rounding out our creature base for the 1 slot, we got a playset of Rigging Runners. It is a 1/1 first strike with Raid, enters the battlefield +1/+1 counter on it if you attacked with a creature this turn. I prefer to play it on turn 2 or turn 3. As you can see, we have not too many turn 3 and above plays, so there's a lot of times where we're dropping a 2-drop and Rigging Runner. So we're being as mana efficient as possible. Very useful to have first strike on a little body like that, and especially once it becomes a 2/2. As you can see, all of your creatures here, the Buccaneer, the Scoundrel, and the Runner, all have the potential to be dealing 2 damage every time they attack. They should always be dealing 2 damage. The Rigging Runner is the only one that isn't, and you could open up turn 1 with him, but I wouldn't recommend it just because he's better when he's a 2/2, and that's why he's in the deck. Rounding out the 1-drop slot, we do run 2 Fatal Pushes. It helps clear the board of any problem creatures, because as you play this deck, you find that unless you have your Direfleet Netbreakers or your captains, you're not really getting through too many creatures with greater than 3 toughness without some help. Or really 2 toughness, to be honest. The idea with this deck is you want to keep your opponent on their heels, that they're either going to try to race you and lose, or they're going to start dirtling because they don't want to attack into what you've got. Going to the 2-drops, we got a playset Goblin Trailblazers, another card from our new set here. It's a 2/1 with Menace for 2. It's a little pricier considering we have a lot of 2-drop or 2-power 1-drops, but that Menace is very huge. If we do side out a creature in matchups, usually the Trailblazer is the first to go, though. It is probably our weakest creature, except, again, Menace is just an amazing ability, and I'm so glad they got rid of Intimidate for it. Not that Intimidate was bad, just I love Menace. It's a really fun ability to play around with. And yeah, these guys are very solid. A lot of times I'll probably go turn 1 Scoundrel, turn 2, or turn 1 Buccaneer, turn 2 Blazer if I don't have a runner. We also got a pair of Karizev Skyship Raiders. She's honestly pushing maybe being a 3 of. We're going to see if she is a card that I want to make a 3 of by the end of this Warlock's Brew. For those that aren't aware, she's a 1/3. You can read it, but I'll read it out anyway. She's a legendary human pirate creature. First strike and menace. When she attacks, create a legendary 2/1 red monkey creature named Ragavan that's tapped and attacking. Exile that token at the end of combat. It's a 1/3, so she actually has a bit of a defensive posture where she can take out. If you have to be on the defensive, you can hang her back. It's not advised because, again, this is a deck where you just want to turn things sideways and go about your business. But either way, she's a very good card. Like I said, I've debated adding an extra 1 of her because when she's hit the board, it's like, oh, I get to bolt every turn. And it's really nice. Also in our 2-drop slot, we got a playset of Direfleet Captains. It's a 2/2 for black and red. Whenever Direfleet Captain attacks, it gets +1/+1 till end of turn for each other attacking pirate. First off, the art looks pretty dope. Very Rakdos-ly with the red and black getup. Had to make that comment. Secondly, usually when he's attacking, he is probably going in for 4 because of the way this deck operates. I actually usually drop him on turn 3 in my playtest so far, where I do like a rigging runner with a Direfleet Captain or something like that. Because also kind of helps buy out some removal from the early little chumpy guys. Because if he sticks and stays, he's going to take over the game, guaranteed. It forces your opponent to block him rather than your little turds to try to get rid of him. He's going to have a big target on his face, because that's the point. He's a big dude. He's, like I said, effectively he's a 2-drop 4/4 when attacking. I don't think I've seen him less than 4 power when I've played him. Rounding out our 2 slots, we got a pair of Abrades, because Abrade's really good. 3 damage to a creature, kills creatures, and then destroy target artifact. I expect vehicles to be a very powerful deck, and along with other artifact decks. Just having that in the main. And we got 2 more of those on the side as well. We also have 3 Lightning Strikes, because Lightning Strike is Bolt. Just strictly worse. Bolt, you can't say no to 3 damage. You can either use it as a removal spell or go over the top and dome them. Either way, very good. To address the lack of card draw that you could potentially have if you splash blue or just play blue-black or blue-red pirates, we're running Ruin Raider, and this is the desired 3. The desired curve is usually one of our 1-drops, the Buccaneer or the Scoundrel, Trailblazer turn 2 or Karizev, into a Ruin Raider on turn 3. Ruin Raider is basically Bob. That's a 3/2 with Raid for his Bob triggers. And again, this is a deck that really doesn't mind losing life, because, I mean, 30 of the cards are 2 mana or 1 mana combined, and then another 22 of the cards are lands. most times you're losing 2 or less life. It's a pretty solid card. There's some times where I want to attack or I don't. This guy eats a lot of your opponent's removal because drawing cards is power and value. Sometimes it's good to hang back with him. Sometimes it's okay to attack. I'm still trying to get that one figured out myself. Rounding out the 3, and he's a 4 of because you're getting to run Bob in standard. You might as well run 4. We're also running a pair of Claim to Fames. I've used it a couple times where it's actually gotten me the win because I'll use Claim on my turn to get my creature back, and then the next turn I'll play another creature and then Fame the creature I just played, or something of that nature, or I can just Claim to Fame whatever I bring back on the turn I bring him back. Very good card, though, either way. They were the Swaggering Corsair, or whatever it's called, the 2/2 version of Rigging Runner that's a 3 mana, but, like, the times where Corsair came down just wasn't as good as when I had a Claim to Fame with a creature in the yard. Although, given Claim to Fame has that limitation. If there's no creatures in your yard, it's effectively sitting dead. But hopefully not for too long. Lastly, we got Direfleet Netbreaker, which is the closest thing we're going to get to a Pirate Lord in the standards cycle, other than Metallic Mimic, so it's sort of like a deal with it. 3/2 for 4, black, red, and 2. Attacking pirates you control get +2/+0. It reminds me of that Minotaur from Theros block. That was a 5-drop that gave your Minotaurs haste as well. I can't think of his name. It was a 2/3 Kragma Warcaller. If I'm right on that, I'm impressed with myself, but I think it was Kragma Warcaller is what it was called. He's a 2 of. You don't really want to hit too many just because if you hit them off of the Ruin Raider, I actually lost a game because of that. I hit a Direfleet Neckbreaker off a Ruin Raider, and it caused me to have bad times. Moving on to the lands before we do the sideboard. Unclaimed Territory, self-explanatory. It's a pirate tribal deck. Every creature in this deck is a pirate, other than the token that's spawned by Kari Zev. Sadly, that would have been fucking dope if that was a pirate monkey. But Unclaimed Territory, you just name pirate. Have fun. We're running 4 Canyon Slows. Worst case scenario, comes in tap turn 1. Otherwise, you're probably just cycling it for an extra draw. Excuse me. We also got 4 Dragon Skull Summits because 4 Dragon Skull Summits, like, there's no real rhyme or reason as to run it or not. If you're on a really tight budget, you can probably cut these out and replace them with basics. Same thing with the Unclaimed Territory. We're running 6 mountains and 4 swamps. I elected that because I feel like there's more red. I didn't do the actual math, to be totally honest, but I feel like this deck wants more red than black. Like, I can run on 1 black. I can't really run efficiently on 1 red. So that's that. Moving on to our ye olde sideboard. So, when I originally was going to record this, I realized I was missing a card in my sideboard. I only had 14, so I had to adjust that really quick, but I fixed that. So starting out, we got a pair of Fatal Pushes to round out our 4, because Fatal Push is a good card. Meta's changing usually means that aggro decks are going to be all the rage. Aggro means Fatal Push is relevant. We also have our other pair of Abrades in here as well. Again, I expect vehicles to be a factor. Might as well. I'm running a pair of Dual Shot. Like, as you can see, a lot of the sideboard is removal. This is more or less just changing up what you want as your removal package. I'm running a pair of Dual Shots for now because I'm paranoid about token strategies, because part of the reason they banned Rampaging Ferocidon was to deal with Raminabared, and the fact that the way to beat Raminabared was token strats effectively and gaining life. What does Ferocidon prevent? Token strats. So we're going to put in Dual Shots to deal with token strats that I expect. And also just decks that have really small derby creatures. Like, if for whatever reason I run into a mirror-style deck, Dual Shot's coming in because it kills a decent amount of the 1-drops. Or at least potentially does, depending on how they play it out. We're running one walk to plank because if I'm not playing as Merfolk, just having a catch-all for everything else is solid to have in the deck. Move that there. We're running 3 Kitesail freebooters for our control matchup because just duress on a stick just screams lots of value in general. If I'm playing against a control deck, the Trailblazers are probably all going out for freebooters right off the bat. This is the only actual creature in the sideboard. Card that might stay, might go. I like the synergy and the flavor. We're running 4 March of the Drowned, and this is for decks where I'm either expecting a crap ton of removal, like a control or a mid-range matchup, or decks or matches where after game 1 or game 2 I find that I'm doing a lot of trades. Just because I can pay 1 black and it's a Ghoul Caller's Chant for Pirates. I refill my hand with a lot of the guys that I lost, and I probably replay the same creatures that I just lost. Because by the time I have creatures in my graveyard, I'm probably already on 3 lands anyway. Or 3 or 4 lands, so I can go March of the Drowned, grab a Dire Fleet Captain and one of my other 1-drops or something, just spit them out really quick and go from there. And we're running 4 of these bad boys. And last but not least, we got 1 Never to Return because I want to make sure I have something for Planeswalkers just in case. And Aftermath, I guess, is a thing. I like it better than the other option that I can't even think of for Planeswalker hate. But that should cover the deck. We're going to register for a league. I'll probably do at least 1 or 2 of the games tonight and the rest tomorrow, so I might post the first couple of videos of this today and then the other games tomorrow when I finish, worst case scenario. Hope you guys enjoy. Again, I'm the Maroon Warlock. This is Maroon Warlock Gaming. Deuces.